Let's get more on this story. Our politics editor, Lukhanyo Calata, was at the briefing and joins me now in studio. Lukhanyo, very interesting remarks made by former President Jacob Zuma today at his presser, but considering the timing of it, of course it comes after he just completed his 15-month jail term, but very scathing in the manner that he criticized not only the president, but the judiciary as well, saying that his sentence was very excessive.
Indeed, I think President Jacob Zuma has had a lot of time to think about today and what it was that he wanted to say. So when he had the opportunity today, you're right, he was absolutely scathing, launched a full frontal attack on both the Chief Justice, Raymond Zondo, as well as, of course, as you've heard in those bites, against President Cyril Ramaphosa. He's basically said that, you know, Chief Justice Zondo was someone that was, you know, that is being manipulated.
Right.
That he had used the State Capture Commission to advance the interests of agents of global financial and capital, basically, you know, and that he should have recused himself from the State Capture Commission when he, as a former President Jacob Zuma, had asked him to do so. When he failed to recuse himself, Zuma alleges that it was then clear that Zondo was, you know, had misappropriated the State Capture Commission, what it was intended to do to advance an agenda against Zuma, that he was corrupt, that, you know, that he was an agent of state capture and all of those kinds of things. So he was very scathing.
Yeah, it was a very lengthy press briefing, but of course this comes at again, a very interesting time in the sense that it is the run-up to the ANC's much-anticipated elective conference in December. Would it be safe to call this a silly season, you know, considering the fact that, I mean, such remarks will be something that we hear a lot of leading up to that conference?
Oh, it's definitely safe to call this a silly season because it is, in fact, a silly season. And I think today is going to be particularly rough for President Cyril Ramaphosa. Just prior to being labeled corrupt and basically a traitor,
right.
A hustler by former President Jacob Zuma, former President Thabo Mbeki had also basically said that, listen, as a country and as the ANC, it needs to consider what it's going to do about President Cyril Ramaphosa should this independent panel that's investigating whether or not he has a case to answer on Phala Phala, should that panel come back and say he does in fact have a case to answer. So, you know, a lot of pressure on President Cyril Ramaphosa's shoulders today. We spoke to his office a little bit earlier, just before coming in here, and his spokesperson, Vincent Magwenya, told us that, you know, they won't be responding as yet to some of these accusations by former President Jacob Zuma because they're actually dealing with something a lot more important, which was to ensure that the presidency meets the deadline that it must give to Parliament on the State Capture Commission today. So that's basically what they're busy with, and you know, they're not going to really engage on some of the name-calling and accusations that former President Jacob Zuma had labeled against the president.
I want to take from remarks that he made last month, having announced that he is ready to make a political comeback at the ANC's elective conference in December, where the top seats will be hotly contested, of course. And he said that he has already given some signal as to what his political ambitions are. Did he mention anything of the sort today?
He did. And again indicated that he would be willing to stand if, of course, nominated by the branches of the African National Congress for the position of national chairperson. You know, and he said that, you know, this notion that he's too old, he's 81 years old, that he's too old to be engaged.
Age ain't nothing but a number.
Age ain't nothing but a number. That he's too old to be engaged in active politics is nonsensical, basically, because within the ANC there is no age limit or age cutoff. But then, interestingly enough, he became very aggressive and very defensive when he was asked around the issue of his medical parole, or of his health rather, because, you know, he was granted medical parole on the premise that he was too sick to spend time in jail, that he needed urgent medical attention. But now he's saying, look at me, do I look like I need to be sleeping in my bed?
Yeah.
I'm healthy enough to be able to contest this position, and if elected, to do the job as the national chairperson. So I think it was, you know, it was very disingenuous, I think, of him to then having applied for medical parole, because all of a sudden he's now healthy and good enough to, to contest the position of national chairperson.
Our politics editor there, that's Lukhanyo Calata, unpacking, of course, that press briefing held by the former president, Jacob Zuma. Over 2 hours there, he was speaking, very scathing in his criticism, not just of the judiciary, but also that of President Cyril Ramaphosa.